Reactor online. Sensors online. Weapons online. All systems nominal.
Hello and welcome to today's Battletech presentation. Today we're going to be looking at one of the more recent assault mechs to hit the market, which is the Peacekeeper from the, technically, the Republic of the Sphere, but a lot of it also comes from Auskerida. It was a joint project. I've got a friend who keeps bringing the Peacekeeper up. We've been trying to buy a couple of them to play around with. It's not the easiest machine to buy, especially in the RimWorld periphery, but a few of them have been trickling in now that the Republic is no longer around, and I think it's a machine that deserves a little bit of time to look at it. So let's get into it. I'm not the hugest fan of the Republic of the Sphere, even though I understand why it was formed after the Jihad. But my reasons for disliking them is a bit different than what some people might think. After that Jihad was done, there was a whole move here to try to disarm and lower the threat level in general, I guess, of most people. And the Republic basically requested everybody buy into their disarmament program, which is probably one of the most boneheaded move a political entity has done since things like the Reunification War. Rather than actually disarm, most people, what they've done was basically take the mechs off the market, file off the serial numbers, mudball them for a little bit, and say, yeah, we're respecting the general essence of the statement. You can ask Clan Ghostbear where all their mechs went, because they were apparently some of the hugest proponent of that disarmament program. But as soon as the HPG networks went down, well, they were one of the first groups to actually have more weapons than they did before the disarmament program was brought in. There's other reasons to dislike the Republic of the Sphere, and I'm not sure they're going to be an irrelevant element for much longer now that Terra is no longer in their hands. The Republic of the Sphere wanted to be able to keep the peace, so they needed to keep their own weapons program going, and they wanted to have some of the most advanced weapons in the Inner Sphere and some of the best ones available as well. They had a lot of factories, but their scientific and military development knowledge was still a little bit limited, so they partnered with a lot of successor states and clans in order to get the development going, which led to the opposite of their disarmament program desire, as other parties would start getting, better understanding of what the Republic would have as far as weapons and how to counter them. We had the discussion yesterday with a few friends over coffees about how those weapons program end up working. The big discussion was over the hyper laser and why was the program decommissioned. My idea, when I look at all the things that was going on in the Republic, they didn't need or want to have any boondoggle kind of weapon or any super weapons going. They needed to have more standardized basic equipment that would be easy to produce and easy to release, and this is what we see with things like the Peacekeeper. The original request was to have a new mobile assault platform, and what the Republic did was go through Independence Weaponry on Quanton in order to get the production going, and it was going to be a joint effort between IW and Lucian Armor Works, in the Auskerida had their hands all over the program as well. It was meant to be a cooperative, simple design between the Republic and the Combine, and it would be using no proprietary parts, which basically mean it's not as good as we could have made it, but it's good enough that if we get some stolen from us, we don't really mind. It's really the brains at Lucian Armor Work that did a lot of the heavy lifting in the creation of the device, while Independence just produced the thing in decent amounts. I'm not going to say massive amounts, but decent amounts to be able to fill out the different regiments and units the Republic needed. The end result, the Peacekeeper PKP-1A, is a 95-ton massive mobile gun platforms, which uses the GM380XL, the same one used in a lot of Banshees nowadays, and 3 jump jets in order to get a speed of 65 kilometers per hour and a jump range of about 90 meters, meaning that it can get pretty much wherever it needs to be. as an assault mech, which is not something you can often say, let's say, about machines that size. The skeleton is made of endo steel, and every linkage and every internals is made with triple strength Myomer, meaning that when it runs pretty hot, it can actually go up to speeds of about 86 kilometers per hour and kick pretty darn hard. The whole thing is protected by 18 tons of standard compound, which is reasonable at this point because you're going to use a lot of that internal room for that XL engine, that endo steel, and that triple strength Myomer. So, I mean, you need to start saving up the room on the machine. The comms and targeting system is also linked to a C3 computer slave, allowing you to share information with other mechs in your Lance and company if required, but you would need someone with a C3 master, and a 95-ton mech would have been a good place to put a C3 master, in my opinion, but that's not what they decided to do with the Peacekeeper. And it's a good thing that the Peacekeeper has triple strength Myomer because it's going to run stupidly hot with only 15 double heat sinks on there. The weaponry is extensively heavy and heat heavy at the same time. One of the arms has a Lord's Light 3 heavy PPC, while the other arm has a Lord Lights 2 ER PPC. I don't like the fact that you're going with two different weapons, one in each arms. That makes your logistics chain a little bit confusing and hard to manage in a way. In the torsos, you have an ER large laser, that's another big heat item, and a plasma rifle with 2 tons of shooting foam, which is another high heat weapon, but it also turns the other guy very hot at the same time, so at least it evens out a little bit more. If you go with regular calculations here, that's 52 heat units of firepower on a 30 heat dissipation equipment. Volley fire in this case will be encouraged. Of course, you've got a little bit of a different range bracket with the PPCs and the other weapons, but even there, almost everything is long range on there. The last thing you have is an SRM-2, which is meant to fight infantry using different types of specialty rounds. I do think it's a bit of an overstatement. I would probably have put 2 small pulse lasers instead, but of course that would have taxed the heat system, so maybe it's not the best idea to add more energy weapons on it. I'm not sure what the engineers were thinking in the end. There was a variation on the team at the same time. They weren't sure which one they wanted to produce, and the PKP-1B was also proposed and produced in limited amounts. Probably something like about 10% of the Peacekeeper production, at least the first run, which was that particular variant, which I think is a little bit better in the grand scheme of things. It takes out that silly 2 tubes SRM, and the armor plates are replaced with 17.5 tons of light ferrofibrous instead of standard compound. In terms of equipment, there isn't much of a huge difference. You replace the ER PPC with a second Lord's Light 3 heavy PPC. So you've got a little bit less range, but you've got more firepower on the same heat curve. I think it's a better overall design, gives you more power at a fraction of the cost in terms of what you lose, and it makes your whole supply chain a lot easier to manage for that particular design. Myomer recovered Quantum when the Republic of the Sphere started collapsing, and they put the factories to work almost immediately for their own regime. In 3116, they began releasing the PKP-2K, which took advantage of some of their own advances in technology. Both the ER large laser and the SRM-2 are taken out, replaced by a single medium X-pulse laser. The C3 slave is replaced with a C3 emergency master, which can serve as a backup when the actual master is destroyed. It's a bit of an investment in terms of weight and room. I'm not sure it's the best thing to do. You should have maybe just worked around and actually put a full master on the design. The really big change, however, on the mech is the replacement of the armor with 22.5 tons of anti-penetration ablation armor, which gives you about 75% coverage per ton in terms of armor, but stops armor-piercing rounds and all sorts of other nasty things that are mostly available to, let's say, Aus Davion, which Aus Karita has been getting into it with for the longest time now. It's not a terrible design. Not one that I would jump on the opportunity to get unless the 1B version. I would really like to see where they go with that design in the future, especially now that they've got a lot of the Nova Cats factories that they've recovered. With the ones we've actually got over time and one we've got last year, we didn't quite know what to do with it. And the one that I really played with was the one that was the most damaged of the bunch. And I was basically told, well, do whatever you want with it. We'll see if we actually field it or if we sell it. I had access to clan weaponry as usual, so I went with a pair of clan ERPPCs and a clan large pulse laser, giving you a big improvement in terms of firepower and accuracy compared to the original. And the plasma rifle, well, that was one that was stolen off of Vindicator, which I've put in a Case 2 system so that if it blows, it doesn't damage you too much. I didn't have the triple strength Myomer to repair it, so we took out the triple strength Myomer and replaced it with a Myomer bundles from Banshees. And what we did overall as well was put a Fort Jump Jet on there to give you a full jump range of 120 meters, which is pretty decent. We still had the problem with the EAT being a rather massive on there, so we played around the internals and we patched in a radical EAT sync system through the whole thing. That's one of those things that also got randomly from Republican equipment. We figured out how it worked and figured out how to set it in, giving you a short term, let's say, 45 EAT dissipation rather than the original 30. So if you need to cool down quickly, you are able to do so. I do like that particular design, but it would be rather expensive to maintain and produce in larger numbers. But then again, if you look around at what Auskerida has available right now with those NovaCat factories, they might be able to reproduce the design if that's what they want to do. Auskerida might very well do a wide variety of things with those Peacekeepers in the future, hopefully balancing the weapon load and EAT load. They've got two massive industries working on it with Independence weapons and Lucian armor work, so it's going to be a mech that gets more and more common over time unless they scrap the design for some reason. New armor types could also be used on the Peacekeeper. Auskerida might want to go with laser reflective or ballistic reinforced armor, depending on who they're fighting or what they want to fight with. Or, you know, get that good clan ferrofibrous and start laying it on there. It is a mech that's pretty rare in our neck of the woods, or if you're in the Narek space or in various other locations, but it will probably get more and more popular and more common if Auskerida keeps deploying them and keeps putting them on the front lines, as salvage is the name of the game for a lot of Mechwarriors. So I thank you very much for listening to me for so long. I hope you guys have a very nice rest of your day, and I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.